The issues with Maryland football are not on Billy Edwards.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And I'm also a video content creator over on InsideBlackandGold.net. Make sure you guys go to Inside Black and Gold for all your latest Terps news. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. I want to start today's episode by saying I don't think the current problems with Maryland football, and there are a lot of them, a whole lot of them. I don't think we have a quarterback problem right now. I think Billy Edwards is probably at all the question marks that I have about this team, all the different things that I'm asking about, all the different things that I'm wondering about, and all the different changes that I want to be made. I don't really think Billy Edwards is part of that so far this year. I don't want to get carried away with this take and say Billy Edwards has been awesome all the time, but I think he is far from the problem. And I think when you look at offensively, I think just about everywhere else you can point at and say it's a problem. But I don't think that we have set Billy Edwards up to succeed. I just don't think so. And there's a lot of people that are texting me, that are commenting that maybe we should go to MJ Morris. But I don't feel that way. I don't know what you guys think, and I don't know about what your opinions on MJ Morris. And I was a huge MJ Morris guy before the season started. I thought he would be the starter. But after watching him a couple plays in the games that he's gotten in, he hasn't looked great. But that's not really the point. I don't think very many quarterbacks in the entire country could be successful the way that Maryland's playing offense currently. And the loss 37-10 to Northwestern solidified that to me that, yeah, Billy Edwards has some stuff to clean up. Yeah, he isn't playing amazing ball, but I don't think he really has any chance. And I've seen him put the team on his back at times and make a lot of plays. I've also seen him be kind of just but I don't feel like we've seen Billy Edwards just be horrible and we've seen him just play a terrible game. Like, it hasn't felt like that. Yeah, he's missed some throws. Yeah, he's held on to the ball too long at times. Yeah, he's done some of those different things, but he's also made a lot of plays. Even like when we lost to Indiana, Billy Edwards still threw for almost 300 yards, threw for 3 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. So you got to consider something like that. Even against Northwestern, I didn't really think it was on his fault. He threw the ball for 296, almost 300 yards, did have a ton of passing attempts and did throw an interception. But I don't think that's our problem right now. I think putting him in position to succeed is absolutely our biggest problem right now for the Terps. I don't think we have put Billy Edwards in positions where he can play at a high level, where he can really make the plays that we need him to make at times, where he can play where he was the first couple of weeks when we were beating up on teams like UConn and Villanova. But yeah, those days are done. But when I mean by we're not putting him in position, you can just start with the offensive line. The offensive line has been terrible. It's been abysmal. And whatever words you guys want to use for bad, horrific, abysmal, terrible, whatever you guys want to say, that's how the offensive line has been so far for the Terps. The Terps gave up a good amount of sacks against Northwestern. It felt like Billy Edwards was under pressure way too much. They can't pass protect at all. Edwards just doesn't have the time to throw the football. Doesn't have enough time. And the best part of our offense, the receiver room, doesn't have a chance to get open down the field anymore. So now we're drawing up all these quick throws, all these quick passes to guys like Ty Felton and Caden Prather. We're not getting explosive plays down the field. We haven't been good enough in the red zone and short yardage. Our play calling hasn't been good enough in those situations. We haven't put him in successful spots in those types of plays. But I think I want to go back to the offensive line and say they've just been so bad. They were so bad against Northwestern that Edwards never had a chance to get things going. Never had a chance. Under pressure every second, no time to throw the football. Guys didn't have time to get open. And we've seen him this year when he's had time, when the offensive line has been decent. Not even great. We haven't seen him with the offensive line been great. I don't think our offensive line will ever be great, but we've seen him play really high-level football when his offensive line's been good, like against Michigan State, where he had a really solid stat line, like against Virginia, where he brought us back when we were down, like UConn, even though I don't put too much stock into that. We've seen him play really well, even when the offensive line has not been anything special. And I think that's a part of his game that is important, that he needs time to throw the football. I know he can create plays outside the pocket and stuff like that, but I feel like when he's throwing under pressure, he's not nearly as good. And to be fair, that's just about every other quarterback in the entire world. So I think that when I think about our offense, I say it's not a Billy Edwards problem. It's mainly an offensive line problem, number one. I think that's by far our biggest problem outside of the secondary on our football team, and maybe even more of a problem than our secondary. I think that the fact that we can't pass protect or run block, there's some lines that it's like, oh, they can't really run block, but they do a pretty solid job in pass protection. We can't get one or the other. So it's like, what the heck are we supposed to do on offense? Can someone explain that? How Billy Edwards is supposed to have any time in the pocket, how he's able to process the field, how he's going to be able to create run lanes for our running backs. How is our running game going to get going? I don't know, because I've seen the offense line create no push. I've seen them create no lanes for our running backs. And then we go back and watch the game and we say, oh, Billy Edwards should be benched next week. Like, no, this isn't Josh Allen. I know I was kind of compared his game a little bit to Josh Allen. He's not close to that kind of guy. This guy isn't the type of guy that just carries your team. And I don't know when we ever thought he would be that type of guy. Even Talia, yeah, he did some really good things, but you couldn't just throw Talia out there and say, go win us a football game. Like, he's not that type of talent. And there's not very many of those guys in the entire country, in the NFL and college. There's not a lot of those guys. Most quarterbacks need somewhat of a run game, and they need somewhat of an offensive line. A lot of quarterbacks don't even particularly need really high-level receivers. A lot of that is more scheme and how you draw guys up and those types of things. We do have the high-end guys, but we haven't been able to use them like we've wanted to the last couple of weeks. So I think you look at what Billy Edwards has done, and I say he's the farthest from our problem. We have so many other different problems, whether it's the Mike Loxley calling plays, whether it's the corner room that I talk about, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's your running backs not being able to get going. There's so many other problems to me. And saying it's all on Billy Edwards feels a bit lazy to me, because I don't feel that way. I think that when the offense is doing the things the right way, and even when they're not perfect, I still think he's been pretty good. And you got to remember, Michigan State, that's a game we absolutely should have won. I thought Billy Edwards had a great game, and we let him down that game. And so I think, honestly, like, Maryland's letting down Billy Edwards in a lot of ways, because we know he's not a guy that's going to throw the ball 51 times like he did against Northwestern. That's not how you're going to be successful with a guy like that. You're not going to be successful by throwing the ball 51 times in a game. And I honestly think that we haven't put him in positions to be the best that he possibly could be. And so I don't think he's the problem with our offense. If you guys, I'm curious, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that MJ Morse should be playing? And then to me, it's like, if you throw MJ Morse out there, I almost guarantee that MJ Morse doesn't look good. He won't look good because it's going to be the same type of thing. And I'm not even saying that Billy Edwards is that much better than MJ Morris, but it's going to be the same exact thing for MJ Morris. We don't have a run game, so what's he going to do? We don't have an offensive line pass protecting, so how is MJ Morris going to be able to get the pass game going? Like, it's going to be a similar type of thing, I honestly think. And so I don't think a quarterback switch is honestly necessary right now. I wouldn't really understand it. I think Billy Edwards has been one of the few bright spots of our offense, even if it hasn't been awesome every single game. Now, you get USC next week, and I'm saying it's a game where you have to figure out how to rebound. They're going to be looking to get back in the win column. They've dropped a couple of games, it feels like, over the last couple of weeks, or they have. It doesn't feel like. So I think that the Terps need to figure it out, but I think that Billy Edwards is not the problem for the Terps. Is Maryland have any chance at a bowl game, and are we the worst team in the Big Ten? We'll talk about that after this ad from Roy. Hey, Locked On Terps fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pooled over $10,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive changes, and with the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. The best part is it's risk-free. If the athlete transfer doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, I am supporting Billy Edwards. I just pitched in $100, and I'd love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Let's show Billy Edwards the love and keep him connected to our school. Remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets your team up for success. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter the referral code Locked On, and you're entered. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. Voids were prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscription and no fees. And be sure to check out on Instagram and X at Roy_ and return on you for more info. Roy, support the players, change the game. Let's talk a little bit about the updated kind of bowl look at things. And I don't know if this is a take. I don't know if you guys are going to be like, oh, yeah. I don't see us making a bowl game right now. And it's sad to say because I feel like that's been our streak. But we might have hit some adversity in this program. I don't want to say it's been smooth sailing right now under Coach Loxley for the last couple of years. We've lost games for sure. But I think that when you look at a Maryland team, like losing games is one thing, but you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And Northwestern was a team that we were better than, that we were supposed to beat. And just overall, I think over the last couple of years, we've done a really good job beating the teams that we should beat. We've dropped a couple, but we've also competed at some games, and it's been smooth sailing in terms of we've added a win basically every single year. Mike Loxley has looked like a really solid coach. The recruiting continues to get better and better. There's so many different things that have gotten better. The win total keeps going back. We've won 3 straight bowl games. This year, the more and more it happens, and we haven't played our 3 hardest opponents on the schedule. In USC, Oregon, and Penn State. And it feels like it's becoming a rebuilding year. It does. And I hate to say it, and I don't want it to be that, but that's what it feels like. And right now, the Terps are sitting in a spot where I don't know how you get to a bowl game. I just don't. You got to get to 6 wins. And let me tell you, I said it before the game last time. I said, it is tough to get to a bowl game if you lose this game to Northwestern, because that might be the most winnable game on your schedule. Now, how could you do it? It's pretty simple to me. You have to win out versus Minnesota, Rutgers, and Iowa. And to me, I just don't see that happening with how the year has gone. At this point, I'd be happy with 2-1 between those 3. And then USC, Oregon, Penn State. I don't see the Terps beating any of those teams. I haven't seen any vulnerable spots where I'm like, yeah, they could lose. Or I haven't seen very many, not vulnerable spots, but I haven't seen very many spots where I feel like on our football team where I'm like, yeah, that has a chance to play really well and compete with Oregon. I don't feel like that. And so I don't see an upset happening. So I'm saying we're 3-3 currently. You have to beat Minnesota, you have to beat Rutgers, and you have to beat Iowa, which to me is not easy. Iowa had a really good game last weekend, and Rutgers has played well all year. Minnesota, that's a tough game, and you're telling me we got to win all of them? That's when I start to say, I don't know how we get to a bowl game anymore. And it felt like those were almost automatic for the last couple of years, felt like those would happen. But now it's like you got to remember, it takes work, it takes good play, it takes good everything. Your team has to mesh, and Coach Loxley has to get the guys going, and it can't be like, oh, we're about to, or, oh, we have this problem here, we have this problem here, and then it keeps building and building. And to me, that's kind of what has happened this year. It feels like a snowball effect where losses become 2 losses, become 3 losses. And now we're looking at it and we're saying, this is supposed to be the easy part of our schedule, the first 6 games. And we're sitting at 3-3. And we haven't won a Big Ten game yet either. So you can't feel pretty good about that at all. And so I'm looking at the schedule and I'm saying, I don't know how Maryland would get to a bowl game. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't think they can do it. I don't think they can do it. Can they turn this year around and do some really cool things? Sure. I think they can do that. But can they push themselves to a bowl game? I just don't see it right now. Could I be wrong? Could they go undefeated there? Yeah. But just looking at the Big Ten standings, it's really weird right now. I'm going to take a peek at them. We're at the bottom with Purdue and UCLA. And then USC is actually 1-3 in conference. That's why I'm like, we didn't get any benefit from playing USC this weekend because they're coming off a horrible loss. Those guys are going to be motivated, ready to go. But welcome to the Big Ten, Lincoln Riley. I thought we were a middle of the pack type of team, like Wisconsin's 2-1 in the Big Ten. Even a team like Michigan is, like Washington's 2-2 in the Big Ten. I thought we were somewhere more close to that, but clearly we're a bottom team right now. And can we get things flipped? And I'll be happy if we end these last 6 games and we go 3-3 in these last 6 games. I think I would be happy with that. Or I would be happy with that. That would get us to a bowl game. That would get us to where we want to be. But realistically, I can see us ending with 5 wins. They're just starting to get tough to come by, and I don't feel good about us upsetting anyone right now. I know you guys just saw Oregon beat Ohio State, and so I'm not very convinced with the Big Ten standings and for the Terps to kind of just get on a roll, if you will. Derik Queen, Kevin Willard says, is a generational talent. Do I believe that? How good do I think he will be this year? Talk about that after this ad from FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-plays, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's the NFL time. There's MLB playoffs. You can do all those different betting things on FanDuel. So make sure you guys head over to FanDuel. I know you guys also like college football. You can do that. Maryland versus USC this weekend. If you want to bet on that game, you can do that. That's FanDuel.com. So Kevin Willard had interesting comments about Derik Queen at Big Ten or at one of the Maryland media days, saying he's a generational talent. And I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't know the last time we've had a guy like this. And he's a confusing talent. He's a confusing talent. because he's a guy that you could argue is just perfect for the college game. Perfect. Reminds me of a guy like Drew Timmy at Gonzaga. If you guys remember him a couple years ago, I'm not saying they have the same game. I think they do something similar. I think in terms of, I don't know his NBA upside because he's not an awesome athlete. I don't know if he's an awesome defender. I don't know if he's an NBA type of guy. Or I think he'll be an NBA guy, but I don't know if he's the type of guy that is a one and done, like a Drew Timmy. But he's a guy, Derik Queen's a guy that is absolutely generational in terms of a college talent. I think what he can do in terms of college basketball, in terms of his skill set, I absolutely agree with Kevin Willard and think that he can be something special for the Terps. I think that the fact that Kevin Willard's telling us that he's generational tells you that he's probably already our best player. When the games start, I think everyone will see that. I know a lot of guys might be like, oh, it's Julian Reese. Oh, it's Selton Miguel, whatever it is. Like, Derik Queen's going to be our best player. I almost guarantee it. Maryland did have I don't know what truth this is. I haven't seen like a real report about it, but they had a scrimmage against Georgetown, and a report was that Maryland got rocked, but Derik Queen had like 24 or something. And if that's true, good and bad, I'm not too worried about a scrimmage, but it's also not great to lose by a lot. But if Derik Queen really did that against if he really did that against Georgetown, that is really good stuff. I don't think people realize that his talent is just made for the college game. He's got a kind of like that Jokic-ish, really high IQ. You can just post him up every time. If you don't double team him, he's going to score. He's going to score a lot of points. And if you do, he's a really high IQ where he can throw the ball to the open man, find guys that are open, and do some special things that way, which I really like about his game in him as a player. And then I think that as well, I also think that we're going to be running stuff through our front court. I think our back court's good and everything, but I think when you have a generational talent down there that is skilled, that can post up, that can shoot the mid-range as well, I think that's a part of his game that's going to be really recognizable this year. Is Derik Queen's going to be shooting some middies, and he's going to be making them. I like his stroke. But I do agree with Kevin Willard. I think we're going to see it when the game starts. I think we're going to say we have maybe something that is really special here in Derik Queen, because it's really hard to stop a guy like that. And you got to worry about Julian Reese as well down there. I'm interested to see what they look like when they play together. But I think when you look at it, you say, is that the best front court in the country? You got a generational talent in Derik Queen. You got a really good player in Julian Reese that could make for a lot of Big Ten honors. And I think that he does remind me a lot of Jokic. I've heard that kind of comparison because he's a guy that I saw that it was like a coach once said, like, you look like you're not trying. Like, that's what he is. He's like kind of nonchalant like that. And he can still figure it out from there, which is pretty cool. But it does kind of remind me of some of the Jokic stuff, the way he moves around. And if he's in shape, I don't see who's stopping him. I don't see where the sky is. The sky is the limit for the kid. I really do think he's going to be a special type of talent that the Terps haven't had in a decent amount of time, and I think that he's going to do some special things on when Maryland basketball season starts. We need basketball season. I'm actually really excited for this basketball season. Bounce back. Please don't do what you did to us last year, because we want basketball season right now. The football season clearly isn't going well. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.